Good morning, everybody. I think it's still morning everywhere. We appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today about the quality control mission of the weatherization program. Let me first thank Meg for what was probably one of the nicest, kindest introductions I think I've ever had. She spoke well too eloquently about things that I didn't think I did. So thank you again. I appreciate it. I'm hoping that I can live up to that at some point in time. You can see from our first slide that quality is not only a priority with the weatherization program, but it is also now well grounded into the policies of the program. And we're going to talk about that over the next few minutes. Excuse me, I need to do something, if you don't mind. I think I've got to raise that up. Okay, can I get the heading off so I can see the bottom of the screen? Sorry about this. My technology stopped when they got rid of the rotary phone, so I'm really hopeful that this works. I'll be able to do it from here. Can you do a slide set? Yeah, sure. Okay. Please. Bingo. Yay. Thank you very much. Thank you. As I said, quality was built into our program through its policies, but the quality of the weatherization program has been a priority of the program for many, many, many years, since the program's inception in 1976. Quality is not a new thing for the weatherization program. What we've done over the last 5 years is we've integrated a new system for looking at how our quality is achieved and ways in which we can improve that quality through a really concentrated effort of training, certification, and accreditation. And we'll go through all of those in the next few minutes. Before I go much further, I want to thank a few people on my staff. Jennifer Summers and Josh Olson have been the leading agents of this particular change in the weatherization program for us. They've done a remarkable job with the help of Kelly Cutchin and many of the staff from SMS, which is one of our technical consultants, and hundreds of people from around the country, subject matter experts, who were instrumental in putting together the standard work specifications and all of the job task analysis and all the work that's been done to create what you're going to see over the next few minutes. I know that in looking at the registration for the conference, many people who are listening today had input into this program, into the quality control program, whether it was through committees or even comments and reactions to things that were produced. So I can't thank the network enough for taking this on as an initiative and putting all their efforts in it to make it successful. We are on the brink of rolling this out, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. And when we roll it out, you're going to see, I think, monumental changes in the program. As you can see, we've been doing this for over 5 years. We've been trying to build this consensus with with not only our weatherization program, but also with the entire retrofit industry. And these tools that we've created, we will not only enhance the skills and the technologies of our people that work in the weatherization program, but are easily translatable to the private sector market, which is what John Jones is going to talk about later. The one nice thing about a national effort like the weatherization program taking on this initiative is that we're given resources on an annual basis to be able to continue investments to not only strengthen the implementation process, but also improve the process as we move forward. So we're looking forward not only to this initial rollout in 2015 of the requirements for this program and policy, but we're also looking for improving it year after year after year, to serve not only the program, but also the residential energy efficiency industry and ultimately the customers who receive service from us around the country, whether they're getting it publicly through programs like the weatherization program or privately through purchase through home performance or other avenues. So the last people I need to thank, of course, is Congress, because without Congress and their investment, we wouldn't be where we are today. The $5 billion that they invested in through the Recovery Act into the weatherization program was the impetus for taking on initiatives like this and many others that the department has achieved over the last 5 years. And their continued support of the weatherization program has been instrumental in our being able to continue this effort moving into the future. So thank them when you get a chance. Finally, the whole initiative is designed to create a lattice of opportunity for the people in the weatherization program, but also workers around the country in the energy efficiency industry. This lattice is designed to help people move across markets from public to private and back to public, because there is consistency in the way the products are viewed around the country. But then there's also the opportunity to move upward in any particular sector of the market where they're working, so that they can achieve promotions and success in their efforts and in their careers. So again, there was a lot of thought into the beginning of this process, and we're finally starting to see the fruits of our labor. I'd like to say that we took this initiative on simply because it was just the right thing to do. And it was. There's no doubt about that. But there was also a tremendous amount of pressure that was being provided outside. I don't know how many of you have worked through the Recovery Act period, but weatherization was one of the highlights of the President's Recovery Act. And he promoted it in speeches and in opportunities all across the country to talk about the weatherization program and the many benefits that it had for the citizens of the United States as well as the recipients of the program. And what that did for us is it brought a great deal of accolade and a great deal of tension, and it brought a great deal of attention, and it brought a great deal of attention. And that attention came from parties all around the country, from newspapers who decided that they didn't particularly like us anymore, and Congress people who were upset because we got this and somebody else didn't get that, and the Inspector General of the Department of Energy who started investigations, 78 of them I might add, the General Accountability Office out of Congress investigating the weatherization program from the first day of its inception. As Meg indicated, I came to work into the department in December of 2009. The Recovery Act was passed in April of 2000, actually I'm sorry, in February of 2009, and enacted through state plan in April of 2009. And Congress and the department were both asking for the progress and the production and how much money we had spent in May. It was that kind of pressure that was immediately brought to bear on the program. And it did stutter in the beginning as we tried to get the program up and running and have networks expand 2 and 3 and 4 times their normal size. In all of that, what we found was that as production was hurriedly being performed, we started to see gaps in our quality, that things were being performed quickly because there was pressure to get things done quickly. This was a Recovery Act. We were trying to stimulate the economy. But the attention to detail that we were used to having in the weatherization program was left aside so that we could get things done quickly. And that cost manifested itself in some very negative information coming out of the weatherization program. And of course, all of it centered around accountability of resources and quality of work. And the accountability of resources was really easy to fix. You just made people do their job. The quality became a real issue because the quality of work was a very subjective part of the program. What is right and what isn't right? What is the right standard to be met? What is the right quality of achievement in the installation of the product? What is the end result of the product? And if the end result is the only quality issue, does it matter how it was installed? These were the kind of questions that were being asked by our experts and by us. And so we knew that we needed to build tools around the quality of the work to try to standardize the work being done in the country in the weatherization program and have it uniformly recognized around the country as something to be proud of, not only as a program, but useful for the entire country. And that's what we set out to do, and that's what we accomplished. Again, I've gone through all these, the inconsistent expectations, the inexperienced crews. These were all things that we knew we had to address when we put our quality plan together. And these network concerns, by the way, were not just external concerns that were coming from outside sources that were critical or supportive of the program. Our own network, we're asking these same questions of what the standards are to be met. what were the quality issues that needed to be addressed. How do we address those issues? So it was fortunately, we weren't imposing something upon the network that they weren't used to or didn't want. It was more a matter of defining it in a way that they could implement it. And that's what a lot of this work was the identification of what was quality and how do you achieve it. Again, we did respond to certain external forces. One was the White House Council on Environmental Quality. They were one of the first organizations from the White House in support of the weatherization program, but also recognizing the issues that were faced by the program and the fact that quality needed to be improved and achieved. I already mentioned the Department of Energy's Inspector General doing a series of investigations, and also the Congressional Office. And if you think it's gone away, it hasn't. In the language that came out of the House 2015 appropriations, hold on a second, I want to read it. It says, these were the comments, I'm sorry, not the House, the Senate. The comments, committee remains concerned that all participants received high-quality retrofit services that meet or exceed building codes and standards. They urge DOE to ensure that independent third-party audits are conducted and results are shared, and that when worker training should continue, but contractors repeatedly failing to perform should be disqualified. This is in the report language out of the Senate. So they're still paying this kind of attention to the program. And by the way, the Senate report language provided the weatherization program with a significant amount of money, $227.6 million. So we're very happy about that. And we will meet and address all those concerns of the report. So the first thing that the basis of the quality control plan, what we call the quality work plan, or QWP, is the guidelines for home energy professionals. This is the overarching document and effort that created the standards and the quality issues, or addressed all the quality issues of the program. And you can see here in this slide that it was broken into three key components. One is the standard work specifications. What is expected to be done in a job? What's the job supposed to look like when it's finished? The job task analysis of the professional. What does that person need to know in order to accomplish the standard work specifications, or SWS? What do they need to know to achieve that successfully? And then finally, the certification program, which is also a training/certification effort to train people for the skills necessary to do the work, and then certify that those people actually know how to do the work when they get on the job. Again, I'm not going to read to you, but standard work specifications really do break down the very tenets of what it is to install a measure, what they call an ECM, or energy conservation measure. And this volume of work, by the way, that can be found on the National Renewable Energy Laboratory website, it's like a 500-page document that describes all the various components of the work that we do. The accreditation, this is very important. We have a series of training venues and resources available to the weatherization program, from established schools and institutions to individuals who travel almost in circuit to provide training. And we found in the training area that there was an inconsistency in what was being provided by all of these experts. And they're all experts, don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with anything they were doing, but there were inconsistencies in how things were demonstrated to crews and contractors around the country. So in accrediting a training program or a training resource, we were able to standardize the training packages that were being provided and the credentials for people who were providing the training, so that we were assured that our crews and contractors were getting the best available. We used a third-party, we're currently using a third-party contractor, IREC, in order to accredit the training. That third-party training can be performed by any qualified organization. It meets a certain standard there's just a standard that needs to be met in the accreditation process. And finally, certifying the work. This was a monumental task taken on by the department and many subject experts around the country to come up with a professional certification that was unavailable in the market at the time. There were good certification programs out there, and we're not criticizing anything in the field or now or then, but weatherization has a unique set of skills for individuals working on a home. We look at very different components of the home, and how we look at the home is also very different. And the certifications that were available to us at the time didn't appear to meet what we felt was necessary in order to accomplish all of the goals of the quality work plan. And so a new professional certification scheme was put together for 4 work groups, the most common work groups in the weatherization program: the energy auditor, the quality control inspector, the crew leader, and the worker, the crew person in the field. And these these certifications were again taking the knowledge, skills, and abilities of the individuals, matching them to the standard work specifications, and showing or demonstrating both in classroom and in field that people were capable of performing the job. So again, these 3 work together to make the crux of the quality work plan. We put a policy out. Every year, weatherization puts policy notices in the field, and our policy notice that covers the quality work plan is what they call Weatherization Program Notice 14-4. And in that, it describes not only what is expected of grantees and sub-grantees in meeting the components of our quality work plan, but also resources that can be used by them and where they can find those resources in order to meet this policy and achieve this policy objective. And NREL, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, is the site where all of this information is housed currently. And we strongly recommend that you use it. In putting the policy together, this is something that's always concerning our grantees and sub-grantees. Do we allow for localization? Do we allow for any kind of customizing of this effort to meet the specific needs of a territory or a grantee or a sub-grantee? A grantee is a state or a recipient. The sub-grantee is the local service provider. And the answer is yes, there is some flexibility. There is an expectation to be met, and that expectation is not going to be wavered. But we are allowing certain aspects of it to be modified when necessary, as long as the objective is met. And I caution you to underscore, as long as the objective is met. We're not going to ever waver from the fact that we are going to demand high-quality services for our low-income families. And as long as we can show that achievement in any kind of modification, then we will consider it. I won't say we'll approve it, but we will consider it. I'm still from the government. Remember that. We are trying very hard to establish an implementation plan that works for everybody, so that at the beginning of their program year in 2015, every home that's reported as completed by the weatherization program has been inspected by someone certified as a quality control inspector. That's the requirement right now, and we are not wavering from that at this point in time. We are not currently implementing the certification strategies for the other 3 disciplines that I identified earlier. We will do that as time and money permits, because this is not an inexpensive proposition. But our belief right now is that if we can control the quality control component, and we can use that then as the, I don't mean that this is pejoratively, but as the hammer in the quality efforts of a local agency and of a crew or contractor, that quality control inspector has been trained and certified to do a job in a particular way, and to know what they're looking at when they see a job that's been performed. And so when that job that's been performed doesn't meet those standards, very easily they can reject that job and have the crew and contractor go back and fix it. And we never see a job at the state and or federal level that hasn't already been quality control inspected to a standard that we all have agreed is the right way in which a home should be weatherized. I think that makes sense. We have this saying that nobody likes, but I'll say it anyway. We have this requirement in our program to do it right 100% of the time. We don't have really a luxury for failure and mistake, because we're doing this on behalf of other people who have had no say in what we're doing. We're doing it on their behalf. And so we have to know we're making the right decisions, and we have to know that we've done our work properly. And this is, again, another tool that we can make sure that we do that. Again, the standard work specifications are online, and this is really important. Not only are these standard work specifications are online, but there are a lot of tools now built into the SWS that will allow a state or we'll stay with them, a grantee, to create their field guide based solely on these standard work specifications and modify it for their peculiar needs that they might have in their state. But at least we know the standards are met for the major components. And by doing this, we know that we're raising the bar of quality across the country. We have accredited training right now around the country as well. There are 20 sites. I think it's 20 or 22. The number keeps eluding me. But you can see they're here, and these are the skills that they're already trained to perform. Every day we're trying to add more to this list. And there are also instructors now that are also being added to the list that will help states meet these requirements, these quality control requirements, as well as the training requirements for the other skills. Again, we talked about all that. The big thing now, of course, we've done single-family, mobile home, and manufactured housing. I'm sorry, single-family manufactured housing. We're moving into the multifamily world now, the small multifamily. We're working on that, training schemes, certification schemes for those. Whether we implement certification schemes is still yet to be determined, but we are setting up the ability to do that if we can down the road. And I don't know how they want to do questions. This is the most I've ever talked without taking questions. So are we letting John work and then do questions after that?
I would suggest if anybody has questions of your presentation from the audience here, they may ask them. Who knows what they may have later on. It's really up to you.
I can take a few questions and then we'll let John talk.
Hey, I've got a question about the multifamily.
Yes.
Quality control. You said you don't know if you're going that direction or not. I know there's been a lot of work already to, the scheme committee and all sorts of other things. Why is that a question of if we're going to instead of yes, we're going to?
What we will be doing, we just had a meeting yesterday with subject matter experts on this very issue. And we will be putting components of the small multifamily and building that within the quality control inspector requirements. They'll be trained in it. Whether they'll be certified in that skill, whether we're going to go in and tamper with the QCI scheme, I don't know. That we haven't made that decision yet. In terms of the large multifamily, it's the application and how the use of that application warrants the investment of resources. And we've made no decisions one way or the other on the implementation strategy on the large multifamily QCI yet. Everything is still open. Does that help? I mean, I know it doesn't answer your question because it's not a yes or no, but we're working on it. We just we don't have the answers yet.
Well, I guess another question I have, and the term you used it twice now. How are you defining small multifamily and large multifamily?
By floors more than anything else. Up to 3 stories of residential is usually small. Garden style is usually considered small because they're buildings, 10 and 11 unit buildings. That's our definition at this point. Anything that goes above 4 or 5 stories, we're starting to look at that, particularly where they have common mechanical services. They start to fall into the larger multifamily. Is that okay? Is that consistent with yours as well? Good. I'm sorry.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. I'm wondering, so there's a lot of great tools coming out of the DOE for standardization, which is great. How do we, and I'm wondering if the DOE has given any guidance as to its grantees on coordination with other weatherization programs And if not, whether you're going to move in that direction, because it strikes me that we are now building lots of programs, but there's not a lot of cross-pollination. So I'd like to see some of the standards be brought into utility programs. How do we do that, and is DOE looking at it?
We can't, how do I say this politically correct? I can make the weatherization program do certain things because I pay for it. I mean, the Department of Energy, not me. I'm not paying for it. The Department of Energy does. So we can set standards and we can make requirements in the program that have to be met. When you're dealing with utility companies, private sources of others, even home performance with Energy Star, where the customer is usually in control of the product and purchase, it's a little more difficult to. It becomes more voluntary for them to accept these standards. Our challenge right now is to prove that these standards work. That by achieving these standards on a daily basis in the jobs that we do in the weatherization program, we not only increasing work satisfaction for the customer, but we're also increasing the outcome, the actual energy being saved by that family and the longevity of those savings because of the quality of work that was installed. And once we can show that and prove it, quantify it, it should be an easy sell to the private sector that by meeting these standards, you should easily be able to amp up your product and make your product more effective to the customers you're trying to serve. There are very few, unfortunately, right now, very few private sources that have looked at this and said, oh, we want to do this. There are a few, but unfortunately nowhere near what we had hoped at this point in time. That's our next hurdle. And getting it standardized in our program will be the first step in doing that. But we want to do it. That's what this was designed to do. It was always designed to be a crosswalk. And the resources that are available at NREL are available for free. There's no charge. So if the utility company wanted to go up and use those in their demand-side management program or their systems benefit charge program or whatever they're operating through, it's available to them. And we would now, if they wanted technical assistance on it, they should contact us, and we can see what we can do about providing the technical assistance as well. I won't promise it at this point because I have resource limitations like the rest of the world, but I would love to help people start using this. So yes, if we could, we would. Does that help?
Yeah, that does help. And actually, in moving forward, so I'm an attorney for a Pennsylvania legal aid,
okay.
And we intervene in a lot of cases to make suggestions for programs. And in moving forward with weatherization, if there was a way that we could build into our comments and build into the cases to suggest that they do things like adopt your standards, it would really help to coordinate weatherization. And so if our administrator at the state level is hearing from the DOE that you also want this kind of coordination to happen, that would be helpful.
Excellent. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. In fact, I was just there talking to the state network in Pennsylvania, if that's any consolation, and we talked about this very thing. So yes, I'm very supportive of it, and they know that.
Great.
So if you need any help in crafting anything, let me know, and we'll get you whatever assistance we can. We want to see this cross-pollinated over the entire residential energy efficiency market.
Thank you.
Any questions from the people out in TV land? Well, that shows my age, doesn't it? Okay.
Yes, we do have a question. Marcia Ferris would like to know when the DOE project officers will be QCI certified.
Thanks, Marcia. The answer is probably not anytime soon. Remember, and let me give you the reason why. There is actually a legitimate reason why. Our project officers are not responsible for any quality control inspections of any work being done around the country. They may witness a quality control inspection being performed by somebody. They may witness the work being performed by a crew or a contractor when they're on site at a local agency doing a monitoring, but they won't at any time be responsible for performing the quality control inspection itself, handling the equipment, or doing the furnace test or the blower door test or any of the other test outs that are required in order to achieve those standards that the QCI require. So our need to certify them doesn't exist.